Hello and Assalamu alaikum everyone. Hope all of you are doing well. Firstly, I would like to start off by thanking Beauty Hooked, who has given me this opportunity to take over their Snapchat. Then I'm going to start off by giving you a little introduction about myself. I'm Saniha Farooq and I am based here in the UAE. I've been working as a freelance makeup artist after I finished my course. That was a year ago. So I did my course from the London College of Makeup in Dubai, and before that I was always into makeup. I enjoyed doing makeup on myself and on others, but professionally I have very recently started because I did my course, then I gave my exam after a few months of completing the course, and that's when I started professionally as a freelance makeup artist. So I'm on social media as Makeup by Saniha. And if you like the look I'm going to do today, and if you like what I'm going to talk about, please go and follow me. So today's topic is an in-depth smoky eye technique, and I'm going to create a classic brown smoky eye with a pop of glitter in it. So before we move on to the actual tutorial, I would like to discuss different eye shapes. As we all have different eye shapes, we need to know what eye shape we actually have and then work on it. So starting off, firstly, it's the almond eyes. So almond eyes are very easy to work with, and any sort of eye look would basically look good on it. So secondly, it's close set eyes. Close set eyes are those eyes in which the distance between both the eyes is less than one eye apart. So that's why they are closely set. So when you're working with close set eyes, or if you have close set eyes, it's better to use a darker eyeshadow on the outer corner and use a lighter eyeshadow on the inner corner, so it would make them appear wider. So the classic smoky eye which I'm going to do today is when you have a single color, a single dark matte color on the eyelid. So that sort of eye look is not really recommended for close set eyes, is because it's going to make them appear closer together, since the darker eyeshadow would be at the inner corner as well, which is not really recommended in close set eyes. Then comes the opposite of close set eyes, which is wide set eyes. Wide set eyes are those in which the distance between both the eyes is more than one eye apart, and smoky eyes, the classic smoky eye, looks really good on wide set eyes. But the only thing you have to make sure is that you're not highlighting the inner corner, like this part of the eye, when you have wide set eyes. Then comes the deep set eyes. Deep set eyes are those which are deep into the socket. So when you have deep set eyes, your lid is usually smaller. So if you are going to do a classic smoky eye in which you are putting a dark matte shadow on the eyelid, it's going to make them appear more into the socket. So usually a lighter shadow is recommended if you have deep set eyes. And usually if you do have deep set eyes, you are recommended to apply your eyeshadow a little higher than crease, so that it shows. And then comes the opposite of deep set eyes, which is protruding eyes. Protruding eyes are those in which you have a little bulge in your eye. So when you have a little bulge, a smoky eye or a dark matte eyeshadow would look really good on those sort of eyes, is because when you apply a dark matte shadow, it's going to make them appear deeper, and that's what you're looking for, because your eyes, it's exactly the opposite. When you have deep eyes, you don't want to put a matte shadow because it's going to make them look deeper, so you apply a lighter shadow. But if you have protruding eyes, you apply a darker shadow, so that it makes them look a little deeper and not bulging out. Lastly comes the hooded eyes. Hooded eyes are very common, and when you have hooded eyes, basically you need to lift the eye and then work on the hooded area, because hooded eye is when your eyelids are a little sagging, in the sense that your crease area sort of covers your lid area. When you open your eye, your lid does not really show. So that is why you have to lift the eye and then work on this area and properly work in the crease and the lid, so that when you open your eyes it shows. And in hooded eyes you need to work a little higher as well. So let's start off. I have already cleansed my face and I've used the Tatcha One Step Camellia Cleansing Oil. I used two pumps of this oil and I massaged it all over my face in circular motions, and then I wiped it off with a cotton pad, and after that I washed my face with lukewarm water. And now I'm going to tone my skin using the Pixi Beauty Glow Tonic. So I've already toned my skin, and for moisturizer I'm going to use the Beautify by Amna 24K Golden Roses serum. So I've already used the serum, and as you can see that my face already looks quite glowy. And now for the primer, I'm going to use the Smashbox Photo Finish Hydrating Primer. So after letting the oil sit for about 30 seconds so that it can sink into my skin, I have applied dots of the primer on my face, and I'm going to massage it all over my face. So after prepping my skin, I'm going to move on to eyebrows. And since I don't pluck my eyebrows and I've never plucked them, when I'm doing a very light makeup look, I don't usually fill them in. But since I'm going for a full glam makeup look, I'm going to still very slightly fill them in towards the end, and if I have any empty spaces. So firstly, I'm going to brush through my brows with this spoolie, which is at the back of the brush. And then I'm going to start filling them in. I'm going to start off with the end and very slightly fill this gap. So I'm going to be using the Morphe brow palette to fill my eyebrows, and these are the two shades. Like, I'm going to mix these two shades to fill my eyebrows with this Morphe eyebrow brush, which is E29. So I've very slightly filled in both my eyebrows, and now since I'm going for a smoky look and there's going to be a little fallout, I'm going to start off with the eyes first. So I'm going to be using the bareMinerals Bare Skin Complete Coverage Serum Concealer in the shade Medium all over my eyelids. So this is going to act as a base for my eyeshadow. So now I've applied the concealer on my eyelids, and I'm going to blend it with this Morphe sponge. I'm also going to go in the inner corner of my eyes because that's where you have a little bit of discoloration. The reason as to why I have not powdered my eyelids is because I'm doing a smoky eye and I really want the product to stick to my eyelids. That's why when you powder your eyes, the product blends really well, but for my eyelids, I want the product to really stick. That's why I'm not going to powder my eyelids. The palette which I'll be using is the Morphe Dare to Create 39A palette, and the first shade which I'll be using is this one as my transition shade on a fluffy brush by Bdellium Tools. So I'm going to start applying this eyeshadow on my crease. This is going to act as my transition shade, and everything is going to look very well blended because of this. So now I'm going to be using the shade which I showed you in my previous snap on my crease, but a little lower than where I applied the peachy shade. Then I'm going to take the Bdellium Tools brush which I used with the peachy shade and just blend. Next, I'm going to use the brown shade which I showed you in my previous snap, just below my transition shade where I applied the previous eyeshadow. Next, I'm going to use this Marc Jacobs eye crayon pencil in the shade Earthquake and apply it all over my lid. Now after applying the eyeliner, I'm going to pick that even darker brown shade which I showed you in my previous snap on a flat brush. This is by Morphe and the number is G20, and apply it on top of the liner. So after applying the dark brown eyeshadow all over where I applied the Marc Jacobs eyeliner. I'm now going to take the Bdellium Tools brush and just blend where I've applied the eyeshadow, where it's meeting the transition shade, so that it looks very well blended. Then I'm going to pick up this Anastasia brush, which comes with the Modern Renaissance palette, and I'm gonna use this end of the brush and pick up the same dark brown eyeshadow which I applied all over the eyelid, and just apply it a little where it's meeting the crease. The eyelid is meeting the crease, just so that it can blend well when I use the fluffy brush to blend it. And then I'm going to pick up the same peachy shade which I used in my transition on the same Bdellium Tools brush and blend it. Now to add a little shimmer to this look, I'll be using this ColourPop eyeshadow in the shade Nillionaire, and I'll be using the same flat brush which I used to apply the dark brown eyeshadow, and spray it with a little bit of MAC Fix Plus and apply it all over my eyelid. So this is how it's looking after applying the ColourPop eyeshadow. Now I'll be using the L'Oreal False Lash Sculpt Mascara and applying some false lashes, and the lashes I'll be using are by ZHOOSH Me Up, and they are in the style Bambi. Since this is a smoky eye and I've already applied a dark eyeshadow on my eyelid, I will not be using any liner and just applying the false lashes. So this is how it's going to look after popping on some lashes. Now I'm going to just clean the fallout with a makeup wipe. So after that, I'm going to color correct by using this orange corrector by Morphe, and I'm going to color correct under my eyes, a little bit on my nose here because I have a slight discoloration, a little bit around my mouth, and a little bit on my forehead near the hairline because I have pigmentation over here. So I just used my finger to apply the color corrector all over, and now I'm going to use this Chanel concealer in the shade 40 and apply on top of all the color correction that I've done, and then blend it together. The reason why I'm not blending the color corrector is because if I blend it too much, it just sinks into the skin and just disappears. So I prefer blending it with the concealer, and this is the concealer which is exactly my shade. So I will use another concealer, the bareMinerals one which I used earlier, which will also work as a highlight, and it will further give me more coverage. So this is how it's looking after blending it, and now I'm going to use the foundation, and the foundation which I'll be using is Chanel Perfection Lumiere, and I will just take this out on a palette and apply it on my face. Now I'll be using the bareMinerals concealer which I had used earlier to prime my eyelids. So this is also going to give me more coverage and also act as a highlight. So after blending that out, it has really brightened my under eyes, and now I'm going to powder my under eyes and my whole face. So I need to make sure that there are no creases under my eye before I apply powder. Now I'm going to use the Lauramercier translucent setting powder, and I'm just going to apply it under my eyes. I'm not going to bake for too long because it dries out my under eye, so I'm just going to apply it and then remove it immediately. So now I'm just going to remove this powder. This is a powder brush by Sephora. It's number 59. Now I'm going to use the same powder puff which comes with the compact, and very slightly just apply it all over my face in a tapping motion. You should powder on the sides of your nose because you tend to sweat over there and then lose your foundation. I'm not going to powder my forehead a lot because I have a little bit of texture there and it tends to get dry. Now I'm going to powder my whole face with this compact by Giorgio Armani. It's the Luminous Silk Compact. So this is how my face looks after powdering it. Now I'm going to come back to my eyes and finish off my under eyes. So now I'm going to use this Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On Eye Pencil and use it in my waterline and also tight line. Then I'll be taking this Morphe flat definer brush and taking the medium brown and the dark brown which I used on my eyelid and just use it very close to the waterline. Then I'll be taking this Morphe pencil brush. This is M321 and I'm going to dip it into the peachy shade which I used it in my crease, which act as a transition shade, and I'm just going to blend everything out at the lower lash line along with the liner I used in my waterline so that everything looks smoked out. Now that my under eyes are complete, this is how it looks. Now I'm going to add a little depth to my face by using the Luscious face contour kit, and I'll be using the Morphe R10 brush to contour. Now I've applied the contour right below my cheekbone, here and here, and now I'm just going to blend it upwards. So now I'll be using this shade to contour. So after blending it upwards, I'm going to take the same shade and just very lightly contour my jawline and blend it downwards. I took a fluffy brush. You can take any fluffy brush, and I slightly, you can see these lines, contoured my nose, and I'm just gonna blend it with a beauty blender. You can also use your fingers, like run it up and down, and then just use a beauty blender. After that, I'm also going to take my beauty sponge and just bounce it where I have contoured so that it just looks very well blended. Now I'm going to take this blush. This is by MAC and the shade is Melba, and apply it on my cheeks. The brush I'm using is Morphe M530. You should apply it in circular motions and keep a light hand so that you can always build it up. Now I'm going to take this Huda Beauty Golden Sands highlighter palette and use this shade Seychelles to highlight the high points of my cheeks, the high points of my face, which are the cheekbones and over here the bridge of my nose. So after using the highlighter, I'm going to take my beauty blender and just slightly blend this to give a more blended effect, and it looks like meshed in with the blush and everything. Very slightly. I am also going to highlight my inner corner with seashells, the same thing which I used as a highlighter. And to highlight my brow bone, I'll use this matte shade by Luscious Cosmetics and highlight my brow bone. Now for the lips, I'll be using this lip liner by NYX. It's in the shade Mahogany, and I'm just gonna line my lips. After lining the lips, I am going to be using the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Lolita 2 and apply it on my lips. Since I've used a peachy blush, which is not really showing, okay, since I've used a peachy blush, I don't know if you can see in this, so I'm going to keep my lips in the peachy tone as well. After lining the lips, I am going to be using the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Lolita 2 and apply it on my lips. Since I've used a peachy blush, which is not really showing, okay, since I've used a peachy blush, I don't know if you can see in this, so I'm going to keep my lips in the peachy tone as well. After this, I'm going to be mixing 2-3 shades. I'll be using the Huda Beauty liquid matte in the shade Icon and also apply that. Lastly, to add a little bit of gloss, I will use the Kylie Cosmetics gloss in the shade Candy K. And I will just very slightly apply this. Then I'll be using this Pixi Glow Mist and use it like this just so that it comes on my high points. And for the middle of my face, I'll be using this Mario Badescu facial spray. So the whole look is now complete and this is how it looks. I really enjoyed doing this makeup look and I hope you people enjoyed as well. And I really want to thank Beauty Hooked once again for giving me this opportunity to take over their Snapchat. So if you liked what I did today, please go and follow me. And if you have any queries regarding this look or any other questions, please feel free to ask. Take care of yourself. Thank you and Khuda Hafiz.